current funding environment in the world, we're seeing a lot of talk of unicorns and all kinds of different types of ups and downs about the marketplace. What's your current feel on the tech space in particular?
So I think the market for tech funding is still relatively strong. It's definitely true that there has been some impact at the top end of the market from the falls in unicorn valuations and what's been happening in the public markets. But if you look at the data for venture and growth equity, it's still pretty strong. In Europe, in the first quarter, we had $3.7 billion worth of funding, and that's up from $3 billion in the same quarter last year. So good growth in value, good growth in volume. So I think the environment for companies is still good if they've got a great proposition.
And in terms of the kind of propositions that are actually getting a lot of funding and interest, I suppose, from investors, what would be the ones that you see attracting the funding?
So where we've probably seen the most impact is on the very frothy, very speculative, consumer-oriented propositions. The current sectors that are really strong are things like enterprise software, B2B software, e-commerce, infrastructure. Obviously, FinTech is a major growth sector, and things like marketing software, etc. So we're seeing some really good, solid growth businesses getting attracted or being attractive to investors.
So you guys have codified the smart deal-making process. Can you tell us what that is and why it matters to both tech companies and investors alike?
Sure. So the smart deal-making process is all about getting the best possible result for our clients. And S stands for strategic positioning, M for marketing, A for access, R for rigorous negotiation, and T for transaction close. So it's an end-to-end process to deliver a premium result. And through the period that we've been in business, it's delivered about a 50% valuation premium for our clients. So it's really taking what is unique and interesting and special about our clients and making sure that we really fit that to the strategic imperatives of what's happening in the marketplace. And we have an office in Menlo Park. We're out there talking to the corporates and the investors all the time to make sure that we've really got our finger on the pulse, and then we can take that knowledge and take that insight and really deliver benefit to our clients as a result.
The FinTech revolution, a lot of interest in it from startups and entrepreneurs and also from the traditional industry as well. In terms of whether it will disrupt traditional finance players or enhance or augment their abilities, what are your thoughts on that?
So I think there are some real threats to the traditional financial incumbents. There are startups that are taking an inherently digital first approach to creating new products and new services for consumers that are completely cutting out the banks and really delivering a new digital experience, and a lot of the consumers are reacting really well to those kind of opportunities. There are other areas of FinTech where there's opportunity for the existing banks to modernise their infrastructure, to utilise the customer data that they have to deliver better service, and to use kind of new techniques in terms of risk and fraud and governance and compliance to improve their offering. So I think there are massive opportunities across a whole spectrum of the industry. Where we're particularly interested is in around the enabling software, and we see some fantastic opportunities there. There are clearly some great new consumer services that are being delivered as well, but we see, for example, some of the big internet companies coming in and being very, very competitive there, and we think that's a risk for some of the new startups.
Hazel, you're involved in investment decisions at all levels or all kinds of investment types in the industry. The statistics we've seen have shown that less than 6% of venture capital funding goes to female-led startups and entrepreneurs. Can you tell us a bit about what your thoughts on that are and what we can do to resolve this situation?
So I think it's a real problem. I personally, as a woman working in this kind of field, find it very disappointing, the number of companies that I come across that have women as founders or as members of the senior management team. I also find it very disappointing that the venture capital and private equity community has such a poor representation of women at the partner decision-making level, which is about a similar percentage that you find amongst the technology community as well. So it's partly an aspiration problem, and it's partly a role model problem. I think that there are some fantastic women running really, really interesting startups that struggle to get airtime because they don't fit the model of what the majority of the venture capital community expect. And there's clearly an issue in terms of a lot of people expect founders to be working all night and eating pizza and playing computer games in their downtime. And although there are women that fit that profile, there are probably fewer women that fit that profile than there might be amongst the male community. So it's about creating more supportive environments, I think, for women to feel that there is the possibility for them to create value. It's about creating more supportive environments amongst the investment community to recognise that there are different models for creating successful companies. And it's also about creating role models and making sure that we celebrate the success of the female entrepreneurs that we have. And I think conferences like Inspirefest are an absolutely fantastic forum for women, because there is such a brilliant array of women speaking and showing what's possible. And yet most tech conferences that you go to are still have all male panels and very kind of similar types of discussion. So it's conferences like Inspirefest that really kind of break the mold and make the difference.
Hazel, thank you very much.